The world was collapsing around them. The air was filled with the sound of destruction, the ground crumbling beneath their feet. Everything they had fought for, everything they had tried to save, was falling apart once again. The protagonist, the one who had led every battle, who had shouldered every burden, stood at the edge of it all, silent, defeated. He was ready to let it end. He had lived through 10,000 cycles of death and rebirth, and no matter how hard he fought, the result was always the same. Everyone died, including him. But this time it was different. Standing beside him was someone he never expected to be there. A stranger who had watched him fight for so long, someone who knew the truth about every cycle, every death. Someone who wasn't supposed to exist in this story. "Are you really going to give up now?" the stranger asked, stepping closer as the sky above shattered like glass. The protagonist didn't respond. His sword hung loosely at his side, his body covered in scars from battles that felt like they had no end. "You can't give up," the stranger said, their voice rising with desperation. "Not now. This is the last time. If you die here, it's over." The protagonist finally spoke, his voice hoarse, broken. "I've failed 10,000 times. What makes you think this time will be different?" "Because this is the final chance," the stranger replied. "There are no more resets, no more do-overs. This is it. If you give up now, it all ends for good. The world ends." The protagonist turned, his eyes filled with a weariness that came from endless cycles of death. "I'm tired. I've tried everything. I've fought alone for so long. What more can I do?" The stranger stepped in front of him, grabbing his shoulders. "You're not alone anymore. You've never been alone, don't you see? All this time we've been fighting with you. You're the only one who can end this, but not by dying." A flicker of doubt crossed the protagonist's face. "And if I fail, what then?" The stranger's grip tightened, their voice filled with conviction. "You won't fail, because this time we're all here with you. You've carried this burden for 10,000 cycles, but now it's time to let us help. Don't die. Not here. Not now." The protagonist hesitated, looking at the chaos around them. His friends, the people he had watched die so many times, were fighting for their lives, holding back the end of the world with everything they had. And they were looking to him. "They've died so many times because of me," he whispered, guilt weighing him down. "I've failed them every time." The stranger shook their head, a faint, almost sad smile on their face. "No, they fought because of you. They're still fighting because they believe in you. They always have. But if you give up now, it's over for all of us. This is your last chance to win." The protagonist looked into the stranger's eyes, seeing a reflection of the hope he had long since lost. They believed in him, despite all the failures, despite the endless cycles of death. They still believed he could change the outcome. For the first time in ages, something stirred inside him. A flicker of hope, a reason to keep going. "Don't die here," the stranger repeated, their voice soft but firm. "Not when you're so close to the perfect ending." The protagonist took a deep breath, his hands tightening around his sword. His body screamed with exhaustion, but his heart felt something it hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. He turned toward the battlefield, where the final battle raged on. His friends were still there, fighting with everything they had. For him. For the world. "I can't promise we'll win," he said quietly. The stranger smiled, stepping back. "You don't have to. Just promise you won't die." With a nod, the protagonist stepped forward, his resolve hardening. He wasn't alone. Not this time. And for the first time, he believed that maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. As the final battle raged on, he fought like never before, not for himself, but for the people who had stood beside him for 10,000 cycles, the people who had never given up on him, even when he had given up on himself. The world might still end. But this time they would give everything to stop it, together.